Let me start with the Sundance Film Festival. I've been there many, many times over the years, and I do remember one time 10, 15 years ago when we were at a screening, and I was with some friends, and we were at a screening of a film that I would say it's probably the most anti-Christian film I've ever seen. It was essentially about a family who were Christians, were really good Christians, but their life was miserable. They hated each other, they were miserable, they were depressed all the time, and after thinking about it, they realized it's this Christian thing. This Christian thing is what's driving us nuts. It's what's making us miserable. So they essentially ditched it, threw it out the window, started sleeping around, partying all the time, having the time of their life, cheating, lying, stealing with their friends, and they loved it. They were having the time of their life. And it was essentially that anything that holds you back is a problem. And you should be able to do what you want, when you want, how you want, where you want. And it was received very, very well. In fact, at the end of the film, the audience gave it a standing ovation. It was a packed house, and they gave it a standing ovation for quite a long time. And as you know, at film festivals like Sundance, they always have a panel discussion afterwards. And the director, the writer, the producer, some key actors came out. And I'll tell you what, the audience was so into that film. They were shouting, "Way to go, man, way to stick it to those Christians." And they opened it up for questions. And of course, all the questions had to do with why Christianity is probably the cause of most of our problems today, why it holds people back, all the negative things that you've heard many times about Christianity. And it just became super uncomfortable. I mean, super awkward for a couple guys here who are Christian filmmakers. And at the very end of the questions, the moderator said, "Okay, we've got time for one more question." Well, my friend couldn't stand it, so he popped up real quick. And they picked him, and he said, "I am an evangelical Christian." And I'll tell you, it got quiet. It got super quiet. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in that room. Talk about awkward. And he said, "And I would just like to tell the director that whatever situation you've been through in your life, whatever crisis you went through, whatever person you met, whatever situation you encountered that caused you to feel this way about Christianity, I'd just like to apologize for it. I'd just like to give you my sincere apology and ask for your forgiveness." And it was so awkward that the moderator finally said, "Okay, well, that's it. That's it. We're going to break up and go to our next film." Well, let me tell you something weird that happened. At that moment, it was almost like a suction started around the two of us, and people just fought their way to get to us. And people got there, and they were saying things like, "Oh my gosh, I've never heard anything like that before. That's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. I've never heard anybody apologize." And people had tears in their eyes. And the director leaped off the stage. He couldn't get to us because of the press of the crowd, so he started hopping from chair to chair to chair from the stage to where we were in the auditorium. And we ended up having a really interesting conversation about faith and why it matters and what it meant to us. So, what do those three experiences have in common? I think they weren't explicit evangelism. None of those cases involved what we would consider explicit evangelism. They weren't about confrontation. Nobody was confronted with anything. And possibly, most of all, they weren't about politics. I think they are perfect examples of sharing truth, goodness, and beauty, and doing it in a way with a voice that's truly authentic. And the interesting thing to me is, in every single case, people stopped and they listened.